Hello, hello, and welcome. Thanks for joining me on this live chat. I am Glenn Fleishman, a historian of printing and other nonsense like this book that I'm doing. And I thought I'd do a quick session here at the end just to let folks ask questions if you had them about what's going on with the project, about Kickstarter in general. I know there's been interest at different times about just how Marcin and I made the Shift Happens campaign go. I wrote a long essay. You can find it Medium about that. And so I don't know. I just thought I'd pop in and you can watch the campaign come to a close. It's nearing on $170,000, and just felt like it would be a fun time to do it. So I think there are a few people watching based on what I can see, and you're welcome just to ask questions in the YouTube chat. And as I see them, I'll get to them. I'll show some artifacts and things while we're waiting. Questions are a little delayed, because of the way YouTube Live works. So there'll be a short delay between when you ask something and when I see it. So, one of the things I'm going to talk about in the book that I think is a lot of fun, just from a historical standpoint, is I'll be looking at what I'm calling hidden labor, not a term I coined, obviously, but it's the people involved in producing comics. And we know cartoonists, and cartoonists used to be extremely well known. There's the famous Clyburn cartoon. Let's see if I can find that real time while we're doing this. That was lampooning the popularity of cartoonists. Oh, here we go. I found it. I'm going to see if I can bring it on screen here for a second. This is extremely well-known comic art. Please forgive the excess in it. But this was, make way, make way, you swine. This cartoonist is coming. And this seems, not exactly that much of an exaggeration, because in the time of cartoonists, when things were at their height, they were making vast amounts of money. Cartoonists were extremely well off. They were able to make. I show my whole screen there. You think I know how to use Zoom these days? They're able to make the equivalent of millions of dollars a year. Some of them, like Bud Fisher with Mutt and Jeff, made something like a divorce trial in the 1930s. It came out the amount he made would be in current dollars something like, if I recall right, it was about $4 million a year. And the judge was incredulous. How could you make that much money from this dopey thing? But that's what the market bore at that time. So cartoonists extremely well known. They had the money to have large numbers of assistants and staffs and help, in addition to everything the syndicate and printers and engraving companies did for them as part of the process of getting cartoons printed. So, for instance, I found this wonderful image that will be in the book. It's in a Popular Science article. This is the colorist for Bringing Up Daddy, and unnamed in the article. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to track down her name. It's possible, and her work was part of the process of George McManus, the cartoonist, being able to convert his work into something that could get printed, because he drew it. He had lots of assistants involved in that too. Maybe he penciled it, maybe he drew some of it. It's hard to know because you're relying on stories from the time. George McManus, was making a huge amount of money annually from his strip. Then he'd pass it on to, these assistants, and a colorist would go through and mark up the strip, sometimes with his guidance, sometimes based on what they knew about the strip, and they would provide both a watercolor or gouache or similar version of the comic strip that the the engraver at the engraving plant could use to follow to make the color. So they would color it, but this was actually just a guide. It wasn't actually used for reproduction. Then they would mark numbers or use another method earlier to say, these are the colors we want. The engravers would use charts and screens in combination to achieve those prefabricated numbers. So the colorist was doing an enormous amount of work, and this is her working on a full sheet for a Sunday. And we don't know much about the folks involved in that, because they were seen as, it's not disposable, but they were people whose work wasn't lauded. It was work that was in the middle of things, as opposed to, the attention of the cartoonist. And so while my book is focusing on the artist's hand and the artist's work, I'm also, because I'm showing the whole production and reproduction process, I'll be exposing the people who work, the printers, engravers, people working in the printing plant on other capacities, colorists, letterers, and so forth, in the process of explaining how this whole operation worked. So, getting close to the 9 a.m. goal. Again, please do ask questions if you have any. I know there's a few people watching. Hopefully I can see all. Oh, maybe I'm not seeing all the questions. Whoops. Oh, there we go. Okay. There's YouTube continues to be a mystery, of course. And let's see if I can share. I'll show you the final screen that I'm working on here, which is, bring that up. Oh, I've got to find the right, sorry, I've got to find the right frame here. And I'll show you what I'm going to do here at the very end of the campaign. You can see here, I'll share this screen. There we go. And you can see me on the screen at the same time pointing, pointing at things. Nope, pointing at things. It's very hard to figure out what we're watching. Oh, did it disappear? That's interesting. I can't tell what I'm seeing now. That's great. All right, let's not do that since that doesn't seem to be working. Or maybe it is. Let's just do that. So that is what I'm looking at right now. It shows me the live total of the campaign, and you can see it's at 167,000 almost now. And I'm getting close to the end of the campaign. So what I typically do at this point, given advice that was provided to me in the past, is is that I've got this all edited and ready to go. I'm looking at the I think this is what you're seeing. I'm looking at the story editor in Kickstarter, and in just a moment I'm going to save that text. I've updated it so that when the campaign is over, you can no longer make changes to the text. This information will be there. So it says campaign is now over. You can pre-order the book via this link. This link is one under my control. It's actually redirecting to Pledge Manager, which is Kickstarter's service available. It's like Backer Kit and like some other services that help you with the post-campaign management process of dealing with obtaining addresses from people, communicating with them, selling additional product or service, and it's often helping with fulfillment by providing exports for shippers and sending tracking numbers to your customers and so forth. So instead of linking to Pledge Manager, because that means that eternally that URL will always point to them even years from now, I've actually linked it to I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I've linked it to a domain under my control with a redirect, so that so I hover over, it'll show it vaguely, but anyway, it says /order. So this right now points to the Pledge Manager site, which is not operative yet, but you can sign up at it after the campaign. And then I'm promoting the mailing list that helps people get more information. So when the campaign is over, people will still see this at forever. I'm actually going to save this right now since it's a few minutes ahead. Even though the campaign is still running, if somebody comes here at the last second, they'll see different information. I'm just going to reload this page. Shows 7 minutes to go, and now if you look at the story, it says the campaign is over, etc. It'll confuse people if you're in the last 7 minutes and you read it, but it's better to get this set up. And then if I were to click on this, for instance, it'll take me to the Pledge Manager page where people can sign up to be notified when this site is live within a couple weeks, and then people can add to their pledges or make new pledges if for basically pre-orders if you come here blank from without being involved in the campaign before. So last moment's happening. Just checking to see, anybody have any questions? Here we go. Oh, someone did note, yeah, they said they're in the EU and they said it would be prohibitively expensive. I know, I could tell you, I could talk for 30 minutes about the issues of shipping, and I'm very sorry that it's as expensive as it is right now. If you want to know how the books are getting to Europe, to the United Kingdom, and to a few other destinations, I'm very likely, I haven't signed the contract yet, but I'm almost certainly going to be working with a printing company in Canada on this book because they can ship within Canada at discounted Canada Post prices. So I have a number of folks who have pledged for a book in Canada, and I was able to offer what feels to me like a high price, but it's based on Canadian Post shipping, which does not have a media mail or book rate. So I'm getting the best pricing I can within Canada, and I still had to charge what I charged, I think is $25 or $28 for a book in Canada for a 3 or 4 pound package. It just feels like a lot, but it's unfortunately what it costs to pack and ship that book. And then and then they can also, this Canadian printer can drive over the border into legally with books into the US and then ship via USPS media mail rate, which is extremely inexpensive, subsidized, slow book service in the United States that not every country offers, viz. Canada, for internal shipping by anybody for media, for DVDs, VHS tapes, CDs, and films and books, things like that. It's strictly, it's very inexpensive, but it's strictly enforced. And so here's how the books are getting to Europe with the current standpoint. They're getting across the sea is the company in Canada is going to pack up X hundred books. They're going to air freight them to a warehouse in Ireland. I'm going to pay the import duty to get it into the EU and Ireland, and then the warehouse in Ireland is going to ship via fairly affordable postal services throughout the EU and to Norway and Switzerland and to the UK. The UK has no import fee for books, which is great. So it makes it easy to get it into the UK. The rest of Europe, or rest of the EU, I should say, well, Norway and Switzerland also very easy situations, and the rest of the EU have varying tariffs on imported items that include books. But the reason that I had to charge $40 a pop is I've got to pay the air freight cost. It might be cheaper to go by sea, but because the printer is in the west coast of Canada, they have to freight it across the country. Or around, I guess, through the Panama Canal and then across the Atlantic. So air freight is only slightly more expensive and it's much more reliable and faster. And then the warehouse in Ireland has a monthly fee that's fairly high, but I only need to pay for 1 month, but I've got to divide that by the number of copies. And as it stands, that adds a few dollars a book there. And then this postal price within the EU and to the UK, to other countries in Europe is very reasonable. It's a flat rate, which is great. So there's no surcharges I'll get surprised with later. But unfortunately, all that adds up, each of those steps adds up into something where I had to charge $40 for a book that's got a $65 cover price. I hate it. I feel like 5 or 6 years ago, it might have been in like $20 or $25, which would have felt better. Later in this campaign, once I have numbers more stabilized, I might be able to offer something like a 3-pack where you buy 3 books, I discount the books, and the shipping is maybe $60 for 3 books or $20 each instead of $40 each. So appreciate that, and obviously wish there were more options. And every time someone says, hey, I found a great thing for you, I check it out and I'm like, oh, this looks terrific, this could be an alternative. Someone found me, for instance, an option to Japan, and I looked it up. It's like, wow, these prices are great. And then as you read down at the details, there's all of these surcharges that can be applied later. So, it would only cost $30 to get it to an address, or $25, whatever, to get it addressed to Japan. But then there's a fuel surcharge, which is 15 or 20%. Then there's a residential, and then there's another. Then they reserve. So in the end, you could wind up paying $50 or $60 as the shipper and not know until the book is delivered. We faced this repeatedly with Shift Happen, where the package was about 12 pounds, or it's about 4 kilograms, and we kept getting surcharged for things we didn't anticipate. So the average cost of shipping a book, shipping that big package, wound up being far higher than expected. But in the end, we were able to encompass it within the shipping budget. All right, I'm nattering on, but if you have questions, please do ask. This is just kind of appreciate having a little company. I'm doing the countdown here. I'll share the countdown with you all so you can watch the final numbers for the Kickstarter campaign. Here we go, watching it together. 80 seconds to go, and I can't see your comments at the moment, so if you have them, you'll have to wait for 1 minute, because I'm sharing this screen. I can't see what you're saying, unless I was very clever and had another browser window open. So this is very close to what I'd hoped the final estimate would be. I was hoping to have a bigger first day. It was much more modest, but then here, I'll share a little secret with you. The dashboard, this is what you see as a backer, or sorry, as a creator, and it's essentially public information because all the bids or the pledges are public. And you see that first day brought in 33,000. By day 4, it was up to $60,000, and then another $60,000 almost came in over the next 3 weeks, and then this last 2 days, as is usual, this big spike upward to the conclusion, and I'd expected to come in about 110% on the campaign, which is what happened. Most Kickstarter campaigns that succeed wind up with about 110% funding. So I'm feeling right on target. Here we go. last pledges are coming in at the very last minute. You can see there's a real-time update, 16 seconds to go. And I've updated the site so it has the information people need after the fact. And here we go. Exciting, I know. Thank you for helping me watch paint dry, but I appreciate you being here with me. And it is about to, one last one came in, I think, maybe. And there we go. Some confetti. Thank you. 2,033 backers, $167,000. And boom, it changes immediately into this. Okay, the project is done. Woo! So at some point soon, Kickstarter will transform this into a spotlight page where I can go in and I can edit it, put a new photo in, put a link in where people could find information out. That's why, because they don't do that for a little bit, they do the whole closing of the campaign. I put this text in so people could find it. Just seeing if anybody here's some more questions. Oh, hey, Philip, hi. Yeah, isn't that exciting? I know. I'm trying to share the joy and love of this. It's really exciting for me because as you can imagine, it was impossible for me to know if there was enough interest in this book before I launched the campaign. And I did as much research as I could, talked to a lot of people. I felt like everyone I talked to with an interest in comics, when we spoke, they got very excited about it because these were things that they had never seen before or heard about before. Nearly every cartoonist I interviewed said, no one has ever asked me that question before. I took that as a good thing. Got hours of some people's time that I think of very valuable creative time. They were willing to spend time talking to me, and started an announcement list where people could get notified as soon as the campaign went live. Had hundreds of people sign up for that. And so in the end, I felt, I think I can pull this off. I think there's enough interest. And thanks to everybody who shared the campaign, discussed it, told people about it, backed it, gave me moral support to keep working on it. It was pretty terrific. And I'm just so happy to find a community. And it also means going forward, rather, hopefully I'll be able to do more projects, maybe not quite as big as this. This is a big one. This helps underwrite a lot of research. It helps me pay for all the expenses. I've had quite a few already in prepping for the project and going forward, some travel that I've got planned for research and for promoting the book to other people. So once that's out of the way, once I've done all this overhead work, it means I may be able to produce other projects that will be a little more modest. And I've got you folks, an audience that's already interested in them. Well, if nobody's got more questions, I will just say thank you for joining me this morning during this live switch over. Very exciting. Please do keep telling folks about howcomicsweremade.ink. They can find it. Wait, I'll do something fancy here if I'm organized enough. I can even stick the URL up on above my head. There we go. This is, I'm using, I should remove the Kickstarter. I should remove the KS part though now because it's over. The Kickstarter campaign is over. Oops, I can't do that though, can I? I got that. There we go. So I can do this live changes using Camo, some great software. You can find me at howcomicsweremade.ink. Find me in all the usual places on Mastodon and Blue Sky and elsewhere. And I thank you for tuning in, and thanks for the support of the campaign. Ciao.